Hello, everybody. Welcome. We are doing one of our favorite talks that we had to pull out of the archives, dust it off, and you should have seen some of the graphics we had, but we pulled it out because it is such a good one. I don't know how to see the chat and stuff, so I'm going to trust that Michelle has things because, I see how, I got it. I see what happened there. Okay. What we're going to be talking about, do you love to doula but hate to sell? Because we know this is a pain point that so many of you have. So we're going to walk you through the 5 simple strategies for loving both and really take that yuck feeling out of all of it. You have your whatever platform you are calling in from, watching this from, you can use the chat box and talk away to us. We love that because we're going to have questions for you as we go through tonight. You're in the right place. Some of you might be new doulas. You might not started your business yet. So this is going to be a really great way to get off on the right foot. Some of you might be experienced doulas, but you still feel uncomfortable when you talk about money, or you're really tired of not making enough and having a sustainable business, and you're looking for more ways to add value within your business. So you're in the right place. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the word selling, and so we can take that yuck right out of it. We want you to understand what your clients want. And so we're going to support you with 5 simple strategies that will make hiring you a no-brainer. And we're going to talk a little bit about our Birthworker Business School, and we have prizes. So stay till the end. We have a promise that we put on the beginning of everything we do, that today we're going to give you real and simple to use information from our experience. When you apply it, will help you build and grow your fertility, pregnancy, birth, and postpartum business. Okay, so jumping in, we have a question for you. When you hear the word selling, what do you think of? What does it make you feel? What images do you have? What professions come up for you? You can use that chat box and let us know. Oh, hello. I see the chat. Hi, guys. I was about to read. It's from us. I was like, when you hear the word selling, I was like, oh, yeah, that's our question. That's from us. Use that chat box and let us know what you think of when you hear this word, because I know it holds a lot. And as we go through these strategies, we want you to keep in mind how you can apply them to your business. So like everything we do, they can all be modified and tweaked, and how you do your business is your business. And so we just want you to see some of the possibilities that you could take what you love, leave the rest. I see a lot of things like pushy, pukey face, nervous face when we talk about selling, real estate agents. That's a big one. Car salesman. Yes. Makes me think of pressure, good or bad, there's a mission to be done. I know recently I was sold to, I haven't had that feeling in a long time, only because I really only move in feminist, ethical business spaces. And I had the first time where someone was like, great, so I'll call you right now. I was like, oh, I don't want to talk right now about this. And they're like, just 5 minutes. I'm calling you now. And I was like, ew, I don't want to talk to you about this right now. And they're like, great, we'll schedule you in. How's 10 tomorrow? And I was like, oh my goodness, stop it. I don't want to buy from you now. And they could have had an awesome client and babble me up, but I hated it. It felt really pushy and gross, and they weren't listening to me. Telemarketers, pyramid schemes. Yes, those are all the things that we think about when we have that selling feeling. So we'll hold that that's what we walk in when we start thinking about selling. Quickly, we're the Babel Babes. You're going to meet all 3 of us tonight. You're going to be hanging with the 3 of us. And we're a reproductive health and justice training organization. We're a community, mentorship, whether you buy a program with us or not. We just want to hang out with folks and do anti-oppressive, anti-racist work. We want your business to be ethical. We want it to be sustainable. We want you to make a living wage. We want all folks out there to make sure that they get the support that they need. Both are human rights in our mind, and we have to figure out how we can make that all work. We have students from all over the world. I think we're in 37 countries, 38. We didn't do the count after the last So around 38 countries. So that's really, really exciting, which means we get a really awesome global perspective as we're talking about anything from fertility to the postpartum period. And so a lot of the times, everything that's referenced is really about like urban North American, as a foundation. And when we're talking about folks that like have food poverty or they've had an earthquake and so there's actually been no access in or out of their town, what does birth work look like then? And so it's really exciting to have that global perspective as we are talking about these sorts of issues, including feminist business. So we are very stoked to hang out with y'all tonight. So we created this because, my personal experience was I did a weekend doula training. I thought it was really great, but then it just like fell short. Like I just was like kicked out of the nest. There was no business support. There was no community support. I never even got a hold of my teacher again. And so over this last 15 years that I've been running a business, there's been a lot of hustle, which I do not support hustle culture. So I'm speaking to the life I had before, which was like no sleep, and a lot of trial and error. And so we want to like take all of that out so that you can just do the work you need to do because they need us. Parents and birthers and expecting folks, they need us out there. So like, we're not going to hold back any secret sauce. We want to lay it out so that you all can go do what you love to do, which is birth work in whatever field that you're working within. My name is Bianca. I'm the founder. We have a lot to cover today, so that's pretty much all. If you want to hang out and talk to me, you can always shoot me an email, bianca@bimomia.com, and you can pick my brain about anything you want. And I'm a super dyke that lives just outside Toronto with my amazing partner, Haley, and our very quirky, weird daughter, Gray, who's going to be 15 this summer. She's a trip.
I'm Meg. That's all we need to know.
And Meg out.
And yes, so I am a birth worker. I am an MSP alumni, so I took a training with Bimomia 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah,
Good enough
forever
time.
ago.
Built my own business after taking my training, and I am so passionate now about supporting birth workers in their own businesses because it was life-changing for me to be able to run my business in a way that worked for me, worked for my family. And we just don't get enough support around this. And you can't just know business. It's not like we're innately born being like, oh, I know how to run a business. So
I'd argue that women do. I think we are innately born. I think we can.
Yeah. And I hadn't connected to that for myself. So yes, and so I'm so excited to be hanging out with y'all. I live in Northern Ontario. I live in a fat body. I have 2 tiny humans and a husband, and yeah, I just feel real passionate about all the things we're talking about tonight.
Amazing. And then we've got Michelle coming to us from just outside Austin, Texas. Take it away.
Hey, so I am Michelle Cruz. I am a Bimomia alumni like Meg, although I'm from 2019 spring. And I'm obsessed with birth. I'm obsessed with science. I'm a total nerd on all fronts. I do have little ones as well. I have twins that are 5 and a soon-to-be 9-year-old.
Oh my goodness.
What is this craziness?
Yeah, seriously.
Yes, and I literally walk and breathe reproductive knowledge all day. I will spit out things, and people are like, the uterus does what? The cervix? Huh? I'm like, those are just regular words for me. I often find these Texans near me clutching their pearls when I say certain things.
I love
which I get a kick out. I'm like, I made you feel uncomfortable when I said penis. They're like, oh. I'm like, yeah. But yes, that's basically me. And I love to teach. And so I am a huge part of Bibomia's teaching program in the education department. And I teach all day and I work with students. So if you ever need if any of my students are listening, I see a bunch of you in the chat. If you need help, you email me. If you want to become a student of ours, email me. So yes, that is me in a gist.
Oh, amazing. We love all of y'all. I love so many people all over the world. We've got the Philippines representing. Whoop, whoop. Hello. I love a pearl clutch too. It's like, I know I've made my day if people are like, oh, and I just get on a soapbox. So feminist business is something that's really, really important to us. We believe that women and folks who identify as women, we have power when we're resourced, and we're vulnerable when we're under or non-resourced. So when we're dependents with dependents, especially, it's like a really precarious situation. So our goal is to have all of y'all connect to your power, do really cool shit out in the world while making a living wage, which then gives you freedom to live where you want to and remove yourself from situations if you don't want to be there, and to, like, you know, invest in things that feel important to you and donate to politicians that you want to see in office, like all of these things. And so we want to move money from these stagnant, you know, these stagnant capitalist patriarchal places and get it into feminist flow. So that's how we're going to be referencing tonight. Okay. Oh, I love seeing the chat. Someone else who just said they had COVID. Oh, Melina, girl. I've had this COVID that just like won't go away. It's like week 6 or something right now. Okay, so we're going to go through the 5 strategies. We're going to kick it off with the first one, which is the seller versus the buyer. And these are terms that we use, like we know when we're going into the consult that we're the seller and we're sitting across from the buyer. But like those terms really can like feel yucky when we're talking about this situation. And so what's really important is that we're continuously centering the buyer and figuring out how to solve their problem. I know this seems like really obvious, but it takes the selling out. If we can think about, it's not about this like selling versus buying, and it's not about the person selling, it's about the buyer and their needs. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, because then it keeps it into a problem solving thing, which for most of us, folks who identify as women usually are like really quick to jump in with solutions and, you know, help and all of those things. And so it keeps us in the arena that we're really good at, rather than in this space that's like, I have to walk out of here with a sale. And so even just shifting that mindset will make like huge strides for how the energy, like how you're walking into those spaces. Meg and Michelle, would you agree that little shift, like how would that impact for you going into a consult?
Oh my gosh. I could not agree more. I want to just like share a tip that I have found has been super, super, super helpful for me, was that when I'm going into consultations, I'm not going in there thinking like I need to sell myself. I actually walk into consults with the mind frame that these are already my clients. Yep. So just like I would do when I'm at a prenatal appointment with clients, when I'm working with someone postpartum, when I'm going to those appointments, I'm there to problem solve. I'm there to actively listen, and I'm there to like figure out how we can get some supports in place. And so when I go to my consultations with that in mind, then I almost like just jump right into doing what I feel like I do best. And then the people that I'm having my consultation with already know what it feels like to work with me, because we've just walked in right off the bat. So then at the end of the consultation, when I bring up my contract and we talk about money, it's just like a really easy flow, and to be like, okay, great, cool. So this is the one that you want. Let's sign here. Let's get, you know, dot the I's, cross the T's, and let's go.
Yes. And we last week we did a different webinar. We were talking about understanding our target market and understanding their pain points. And so we want to figure out what folks want. Like, what is their pain point? What are they really looking for? And so it's interesting that last week when we were talking about this, so many people said, I hate selling. I don't want to sell. You guys, hence we're here talking about let's not sell, because that's what's your pain point. And so we were like, great, we identified it. Let's create something that's about connecting with our clients, because so many of you last week in the chat box were like, I hate selling. I don't know how to do it. I walk in and people talk about the money and I collapse. Like, and so we identify that as Babel Mia. So hence we created this webinar for you all tonight. So when you think about this using your chat box, what are your clients' needs? Like, why do they need a birth worker? What are their problems? And so many times when we're doing it, we go through those really awesome stats that are around what birth workers do, like, you know, this percentage of decrease of cesareans, this percentage of increase of birth satisfaction, feeding from our body. Like, we have all these stats, and we think that that's what our clients are looking for, when most of the time that's not what they're looking for. So when you think about this with your own practice, what are your clients' needs? Michelle, I'm going to put you on the spot. When you have your clients in your community, because I know you're very clear on your target market, what do your clients need, the people that are working with you?
Yeah. So I think I had a consult on Sunday, and the number one thing was protection from other people in the hospital and to make sure that voices were heard. You know, I always think, and to people, they say, oh, you're a birth worker, so you must do massage all day. Sometimes I'm just a witness watching what's going on and being an extra pair of eyes to keep someone safe. Like, they may not want the other things, and that's exactly what they wanted, was protection from another Black woman in the space, watching over the birth, to offer comfort too, but to be there in case of anything. Because they're a couple that they're unable to go to have a home birth that they want because they financially can't afford it. They, you know, are not able to switch to a different hospital. So we're stuck with being where they are. And I'm like, well, let's make sure that you have the safest birth possible. So,
So Michelle's clients are mostly racialized folks that identify as women, and they're in the South, and the rates of care for Black women are abysmal. So Michelle leads with the fact she's a protector. So she doesn't talk about success from feeding from their body, unless maybe that's the conversation point there.
Yeah.
She's very clear. She's there to protect her clients and keep their body safe from a system that is like, you know, hell bent on making sure that they don't survive this experience. And so Michelle knows about that. Now, for each of you, it might be different. Like Meg is like, you know, she will take care of folks with super high anxiety and with PMADs. And so they know, like, you know, so she's looking for people to reassure her clients are looking for Meg to reassure them every step of the way. And so that is what their clients' needs are. And so both of them speak to people, and their websites and everything calls that out because they really understand what it is. So some of you have shared what your clients need. So Ria, they need childbirth education. So they're looking for that preparation. Mola Bohang, you're saying they need support. They need to know their voice matters. They need encouragement with nursing. Amazing. We've got awareness on the birth options, that they have a choice. They need to be educated about their birth fears and birth options. Some things that are not discussed in the Philippines. So that there's like this information that's not readily available, and their clients need that. So you can see that they're very different than what we believe. Like, we know what the benefits are, but it's really important that you find out what your clients need. So we're going to go into the next one. We have some like how we're going to find out what your clients need, but we're going to go into the completing the cycle. So Meg has done tremendous work on this completing the cycle. Michelle came out like fast and furious and gave zero shits when she started. I too gave zero shits when I started. So I think it's really powerful to hear from somebody who would struggle with some of these pieces. So walk us through completing the cycle.
Yes. So when we are talking about this cycle, we are talking about the needs exchange. So we're talking about helping people. We are problem solving. We want, you know, so we are solving a problem. They're providing a payment, like an energy exchange. So problem, solution, payment, and this continues. So we want to complete this cycle, because sometimes what happens, and I was guilty of this when I first started, I would go to a consultation. It would be really, really great. We were vibing. They wanted me as their doula. And then we got to money, and I would just be like, I hate this. I don't want to do this. And so automatically vibe changes. I'm uncomfortable. It's like palpable when somebody's uncomfortable. And so I'm like, you know, so this is how much it is. And if you don't do this one, then we could just like, I could make it less, and we could just, I'll give you a discount, and, you know, I'll do all these things. But like, people want to buy your services. We were talking about this last week in birth worker business class. People aren't doing you a favor by getting your services. Like, you are solving their problems. This is such an important thing for us to recognize. And also, what happens when we make it uncomfortable around money? It takes the joy out of it for your clients. Think about a time when you were buying something and you were really freaking excited about it. You know, say you saved up and you're like, you know what? I'm going on a vacation. It's going to be delightful. You go meet with a travel agent, and the travel agent is like, oh, sorry. So it's actually going to be like a little bit, it's going to be this much. And you're like, but no, I just take my money. Take my money. I'm saved for this. I'm real excited about it. This is what I want. And so we want to keep that exchange feeling that good. People want your support. People want to pay for your services. So please, 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 let's complete this cycle. And we don't have to make it weird. We don't have to undervalue ourselves, and we don't have to make it awkward.
Meg, what are some of the things you can do to like have the comfortable money conversations? Like, what are some of the practice things that folks could do right now? Like some of the tips to get comfortable saying, my rate is $13.79 and you can pay one time or 3 equal payments or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So firstly, I do find walking in, these people are already my clients, takes a huge stress off of me. Walking in and remembering that I am bringing lots of value here. I have experience. Even before I had attended lots of birth, I had other areas that I was bringing in my experience from. Also, I have my contract ready at the end of all my consultations to go through with folks. So instead of me being like, so now we're going to talk about money, I'll be like, okay, great. This feels like a really good fit on my end. How do you all feel about it? Most of the time they're being like, oh my gosh, this was great. I can't wait to hire you. And then I pull out my contract. We go over everything. I ask, what package would you like? And I have a printout of all of my different packages right there. So I don't have to do the like, bring it to mind and this is what you get and this is what you don't. It's really clear. They pick what they want and then they sign the contract. Easy peasy, didn't have to be stressful. And so it just makes it flow really well. So I find that's something that really works for me.
Oh, such a good tip. We're going to talk a little bit more about creating that buyer experience when they're on that endorphin high of shopping. We all know the feeling. We know the feeling as we press add to cart. But so before we get to that though, we want to talk about how we can, again, we're taking that yuck out. Abigail, awesome question. We're going to answer that in just a minute. So we're taking that yuck out. We're creating an experience where we're problem solving. So Michelle.
Yes.
Let's talk about listening, lady.
Oh, yes. I love to talk about listening as someone who loves to talk. You know? But honestly, it's really important. So like, going off the same feeling of what Meg said about they're already your clients. So when you're going to meet someone you're already talking to, you want to make sure that you are listening to what they are saying, that we're not the ones coming in and saying, here's my whole journey to birth work. Here's who I am. Here's my 5 last clients I worked with and their birth stories. That can be easily happening to a friend. That's a conversation for a friend. This is someone that you're wanting to hear what's going on in their heart and their mind and their lives. And that will help you figure out the solutions to go through it. I always have the contract too. I always make sure I have it with me. I never wait till I'll email you later because I know they're going to want to, once they're signed, even more so want to hear. They want me to hear what they're saying. They want to make sure I'm understanding them. And that helps me too to know what direction to go in and to stay connected. Because think about the word connection. It's not one-sided. It's 2 pieces being connected together. And that's necessary for you to be able to function. And people like when you're reflecting their language, their words. It's like, ooh, they heard me say the word trauma. They heard me say the word, placenta encapsulation or whatever. They heard me acknowledge something in my past, and that really is important. And as we're listening, I often will make mental notes. Later on, I go and I write the information down so I don't forget, because ADHD, I forget all the time. But it's important. That connecting piece is so important. And I think that's where a lot of folks, they forget about that with consults and with getting clients is like, here's my contract. Here's what I do for you. Okay, bye. And it's like, wait a second. One of the pillars of birth work is emotional connection, emotional needs to be given. And so we have to make sure that we're answering questions they have. We're hearing them. And sometimes we have to draw folks out. And that can be a skill that needs to be practiced for some folks. I was raised in a world where I was taught how to get folks to talk to me. So I easily can say, oh, okay, so what are your thoughts about that now that it's been 6 months? And I'll say, oh, I haven't thought about it, how I feel now. And they'll say, it is bothering me. Or you know what, it's been great. And just asking them those open-ended questions to keep the connection growing is so important. Also, 2 compliments. I will practice this. So I had a consult Sunday. So on Saturday and Sunday morning, I went to the grocery store and I was like, I'm going to find 3 people to compliment, and genuine compliments. I'm like, oh, I like your shirt. Be like, I love your hair. Who did your hair? And there happened to be a girl at the checkout who had these awesome bodacious curls. They're like big and fluffy. And I was like, who did your hair? And she was like, tried telling me her whole like hair regimen. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. I'm always looking for hair care products, but practicing those connection skills out in public is really important, because you may be consult someone you've never met before. You know, you may have had 2 touch points in an email, maybe a phone call and an Instagram message. So like make sure that the connection is open, it's supporting of them, it's not fake. Fakeness is so visible. Like, oh,
it feels gross.
So like, oh, I know what you're doing.
But
yeah, I know. The same lady who was trying to do the thing, she did a couple of those like, oh, I like your, in like that voice. I like your top. And I was like, lady, I have the flu and I look like a bag of hot garbage right now. Like, don't bother. We're not going to play this game. Just like tell me about your packages and let's move on.
Yeah.
And I think Michelle raised a really good point, is that so often we think we're going in to talk about ourselves, and like we're not. We're going in, that's what that 80-20 rule. We're going in to ask open-ended questions. Michelle is like the queen of it, so because she loves talking to strangers. And so these like really like these questions that draw out information, make them think about it, that are like make them dig deeper. And so we want to have that be the foundation of the entire consult. They don't really like they don't need to see all the certifications that we do, because most of them they don't even understand what we did with spinning babies and what we did with the Rebozo this, and like it's that stuff that we can all like, you know, birth geek out together, but like they don't know and they don't care. They literally just want to talk to you and know that you've heard them. Especially folks that identify as women, because nobody gives a shit what we say most of the time. So to have somebody be like, then what else? It's glorious. It's like titillating.
Yeah.
So
that reminds me of this is SNL where it was like porn for women, and it was like, tell me what happened next. No way. And it was like, what happened last week? And it's just a guy asking open-ended questions. It's just like, oh, and this happened, and then there was this, and then it's like this like gushing of conversation.
Yeah.
Because
and how did you feel about that?
We don't get it.
We don't get it.
This like genuine acknowledgement of what's going on in our lives. And so our clients, especially folks that are trying to get pregnant, are pregnant, or just had their baby. Like there's no lack of acknowledgement to the human, the adult human. So
yeah, for sure. So just keep that in mind. It's about them. It's about them. It's about them. And then you will not feel like you have to sell you. You just get to talk about you.
Can I add something in real quick?
Yeah.
I like Michelle, you both flagged it, but I just want to make it really, really clear. So also, as you're asking these questions, you're going to be hearing their pain points.
Yeah.
So this is, people will tell you what the issues are. It's shocking how many times I go to a consultation, and within the first 15 to 20 minutes, somebody has mentioned that they're stressed about their mother-in-law coming to the birth 3 times.
Yep.
And so after they've shared and we're going through things, when you can mirror that back and be like, I noticed that you've said this a couple of times. Like, do you want to talk about some options on how we can navigate around that? And they're like, holy crap, you're a witch. You're like, you're magic, whatever it is.
Yeah.
How did you know that? I'm like, well, you told me.
You said it 3 different ways.
Exactly. So this is how I know, because some people at the very beginning were asking like, well, how are you going to figure out what they want? For a lot of time, they will truly, truly tell you.
Oh yeah.
They'll just tell you. Yeah. They'll tell you that they're like, you know, that they really want to feed from their body, but like nobody else in their family did, or vice versa. They're like, I don't want to, but they'll like sneak in being like, oh, because my sister's like, why won't you breastfeed? And it will like come up like 5 times. And then you're like, do you need to make a plan around infant feeding that feels really good for you and nobody else's business? And they're like, yes, whoa, like that. So whatever the thing is. Mm-hmm. So as we move on, we're going on to point number 4. Who you are and what your brand is and what your business is needs to come through in everything from the type of questions you're asking to like, everything about how you look, what your website looks like, the language you use, the images you use, everywhere. So, I mean, to use Michelle as an example, because right now she's covered in pink, and she comes covered in pink all the time.
I wore it tonight on purpose.
I love it.
Because it's my brand colors.
Her headshot that you guys saw at the beginning is like, she's like, with pink glasses on, like her voicemail, her signature, her everything she does, her TikToks, like it's Michelle all the way through. Meg, her background and her is like, she's got soap opera lighting. I don't know how she managed to do that right now with the same camera that I have, but like she's got this like soap opera feel. Everything's soft. It's muted. You feel like you could have a little curled up nap behind her and she'll touch your head and tell you everything's going to be all right. Like and it comes through everything she does. Like her images all are like soap opera lighting. Like everything is like beautiful and soft and gentle and pink. And coincidentally, my shit's pretty bold and strong. And it's like, this is what you're going to get. No one will fuck with you. I've got you. Like, I mean, we all do that for everybody, but like, this is like perfect. And it comes through in everything that we do in our doula businesses. So, how do you want to be seen? Are some of you clear on this? Do you know like what your brands are or how you want to come across or, and there's so many different touch points that your clients can potential clients come across, like from your social media to your email signature. And so it's really, really important that they can connect to you because you are your product/service. It is you. And so you want people to have that consistent experience as they land on your social media or go to your website or your Google listing or talk to you. Like all of these things need to have that same feeling, to have that, like to have you come through. Whatever you decide, that's the fun part. You get to pick that. So, that works for all of our different markets that we work within. And so this keeps that like trust going that they're like, oh, you're like this all over the place. Mm-hmm. And you can like build in, your brand values and all the cool stuff about you. So some of the things you want to be seen, heavy on the Bianca feel, consistency. It is really important. Being conscious of that is great. And sometimes it can be hard because you might like something that's like really hot right now or like a graphic or a color palette. And you're like, ooh, how can I squeeze that in? That happens to me all the time. I'll like go through an Instagram channel, be like, ooh, that's hot. And I'll like forward it to the team. And they're like, that's nice. Like it makes no sense. It wouldn't make any sense for us to put it in. I'm like, because we've got a brand voice and it's really clear and it's consistent through everything that we do. So it can be tricky. And I know there was years where I got to sneak stuff in that like was way off brand. So I was like, feathers, I love them. And it made like no sense for what we did. But there was feathers on everything. Yeah, so this needs to come through. Your voice and who you are. Tip number 4, bring it through. All right. Meg and Michelle, bring it home. Because you guys have both been talking about this in business school, creating a buying experience.
Yeah.
Oh, you go first, Michelle. You go. I was going
to say, like you said, what your voice is, how you want to be seen. And so that comes through in everything. And so that buying experience, people get obsessed with the sensation of buying something. So I was legit just watching a very adorable TikTok of a mom and her daughters. She's like, who wants to go shopping? The girl's like, yes. Who wants to go to Starbucks? Yes. Who wants to spend all mommy's money? They're like, yes. They're excited about it. That's an endorphin, adrenaline release of like, woo, let's go have fun today and shop. That same sensation can be done with services. Like we get excited about going to the massage. We get excited about going to get a facial or going to have a therapy. Oh, I got therapy on Friday. Then I'm going to get my favorite sandwich afterwards. And I'm going to like, woo, and let it all go. It's an endorphin release, even if it could be a challenging. Oh, you saw it too. It's so cute. So cute. But like, it's a way we set it up. So I think, we talk about our brand, but know how we want people to react. So this pre-planning goes into it, like creating what you want it to look like, how it falls through in the communication. So like, I like to make sure that I have, once I leave, I set up, how am I going to communicate with them again? Like, how am I going to make sure they get what they need? What does it look like? The follow-up information. Is it still following what I want it to look like? And it makes it great when I'm like, okay, they know they're going to get checked up from me on this date every week. And then very soon on call, it'll go to every 2 or 3 days, and they know what that looks like. It's very open to this. And so I think it's really good to make sure we understand that we can create this experience, but we want everyone to know we want to work with them. And so we're not trying to give them this like fear, but more of this, ooh, yes, sensation when they go to work. It's like, yes, it's rush, this rise of endorphins and this positive experience. So they're going to attach that with working with you. Is I felt so good when I signed my contract. I felt so good after my prenatal meeting, because it's like, oh, it's so refreshing when they come to the house. I love connecting with them online. I love when they call me. It's so nice. And you can do that. I always say, like, just be yourself, which sounds so hilarious, but it's so true.
Yep.
Like, don't be this like created version that's not you. Be you. Like I said,
I have the money talk feel the same.
Yes.
So Meg gave a really good solution. She's right now going to tell us how to make this buying experience. But like, she felt really good handing a beautiful soap opera lighting menu in soft colors that has the like, I got you 1, I got you 2, I got you 3, so that she never had to say, so this is, you know, 2,400, this is 1,700, this is 900. She didn't have to say that. She'd be like, all right, so let's go through the menu with her like really like soft, gentle Meg voice. So like she found a workaround. And so that's how it felt consistent and it didn't crumble at that part. So we've got some tips that you could do right now that a lot of times people forget about. So Meg,
yes,
what are some of the tips for creating the buying experience right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So that continuity, somebody mentioned it in the chat. I think that like we cannot overstate this, that we want every touch point to feel like a really wonderful engagement. So from the first time they email you, like for me, I have a welcome package after we get things set up. And again, it's really pretty. It's got my colors. It's got my voice on it. So it really has, we've been joking a lot this in 2022 about this feeling of like, we've got you like this.
Like a little nest.
Like a little nest. And so that's how I want people to feel as they're moving through getting my services. So all the touch points. So the first email, the consultation, the contract, my initial follow-up after they've signed the contract, all of these are really, really great tools. So in addition, you can also kind of encourage this like really wonderful experience before you're meeting with them. Like I said, so I have a welcome package. Do you have a pink spoon? Oh, sorry, I went out of order. First one, change your voicemail.
Yes.
Have the message say something about your credibility, your expertise, so you can just like let people know about you and what you are offering. It's a really, really great one. Say your business name in it, say who you are, that's a very easy, quick turnaround, but it actually makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Make email signature powerful. So we have a beautiful, beautiful marketing team, Melly and Cece, who do incredible shit for Bebo Mia. And so our email signature is so pretty and it tells exactly what we need it to. So that is, again, you want that same feeling that you had at every other touch point on your email signature. And then what I was going to say, come up with a pink spoon or 3 or however many you can. It adds additional value to your package. So it might be that you put together, you know what I would buy 100%. And I'm thinking of Doula Katie. Like if I was hiring a doula, I'd be like, okay, I would love to learn more about baby wearing, but I live in a fat body. So I'd really love some support around that. And if Doula Katie was like, oh, actually after signing, your contract, I'm going to send you my like top 10 baby carriers for people living in big bodies. I would be like, you get me so good. Anyway, I don't know what I think about. But those are things, right? Like these are like encouraged, continued ways that we're like, I see you, I've got you. Creating a pink spoon can feel like a big undertaking. We should actually do a webinar on one of those, maybe. Can feel like a big undertaking, but the amount of use that you will get out of that tool will be like tenfold. You can give it to everyone. It can be on your website. You can be on your emailing list. Like, so
what are some examples, Meg, of pink spoons so that folks who might not know that term?
So I'll share, I have 2. So the first one that I created was called 5 Ways to Have a Kick-Ass Hospital Birth, because my clients are anxious. They all want to have hospital births. So I was like, okay, these are ways that we can make it awesome. And then my next one was the Anxious Mama's Guide to Birth Prep. And so it's filled with information that's specific to people that are anxious. So it really works really, really great. You know, Michelle, like a pink spoon for her. Oh my gosh, like we could have 8 million of them. But like 8 ways that, you know, like I can support you when we're moving, like by protecting you. Like these are like the things that I'll do, or these are how your partner can set things up, or, you know, like there's so many things. I did a terrible job there.
I also too, one of the things that I've sent out that isn't even mine, but that I do have, is Doula 360's birth playlist from YouTube.
Ooh,
videos. And people be like, oh, I watched all of them last night. And I'm like, you watched all of them? Because I have like some live births in there too. Like, you know?
Yeah.
People love it. Like, I get like the most compliments from it. And it's just literally videos I've vetted that I've watched, and I just in order. So it's kind of like what to happen. And then I have one for folks, because I have a lot of folks that are at 35 or 35, 45 in that age range. Yeah. And birth is very different for folks over there, especially medicalized birth. And so I have videos for what birth is like in that age range, and like taking care of your body while working 40 hours, which can be a challenge for folks. And so, they love it.
Such a good one. I love that. They could be play like songless. They could be, you know, birth videos of really great outcomes, like VBAC birth videos. So if you're the VBAC expert, so people just start taking in those messages. It can be ebooks, cheat sheets, like infographics. Like there's so many different ways. They could be guided meditation scripts that you're reading. Like there's lots and lots of things that you can
lock screens. Like their phone with an affirmation. There was a doula here that did that, and she's like, here's my pink spoon to the whole community. And she's like, the next 5 slides are lock screens. And it was affirmations on like her branding background, beautifully done. And everyone was like, it was so cool. And of course I was like, I'm going to save them all for myself. But like things like that.
That's things so like good. So those are some awesome examples, and you come up with your pink spoon that works for you. No, before you can create this awesome buying experience, you have to get very, very clear on these 3 topics. So they need to know about you. Who are you? You know, you've heard from the 3 of us. We're very clear who we are, who we serve, and how we do it, and our why. So no one can do what you do. And I know that can be really challenging for folks that identify as women, is we really like undermine the thing we're really good at. Like Meg is literally the best listener I've ever met in my life. She can like in a vacuum just listen to what you're saying and not run it through the like, oh, I never had that, or that's been worse for me, or whatever the thing is. I've never met anyone, including therapists, that I paid like an arm and a leg for. And once I identified with Meg, when I was like, Meg, you never put your shit on the conversation. You literally become this like vacuum of just like, it doesn't matter. Like she shuts off her brain. I don't know what happens. It's magic. It's like a superpower. And then she was like, oh shit, that's my superpower. And she could like talk about it because she got really clear that that is something that not everybody can do. Because she was like, oh, lots of people can do that. I was like, I literally have never, ever met another person that when I'm complaining isn't like, oh, it must have been nice. You had a cottage when you were a kid. And I was like, I'm trying to tell you about a childhood trauma that happened at my cottage. And it's not like, okay, great. Let's put that to the side. It was no less traumatic for me, but that's not the point of the story. And Meg does it perfectly. So when you get very clear on what you do, how you do it different, what you can bring to folks, this will really, really help you on your journey because you know what you're amplifying. And you start putting these tips in, being like very clear who you are. This is a bit of a journey. So like where you start and where you land, like will change and stuff. So don't feel like you need to be married to this right now, because you'll figure out people you really like working with, like areas you do really well in, like patterns of your clients. So with time, so don't panic if you're like, I have no idea. But once you understand you, then you're going to know who you want to work with and how you're going to serve them. So like, what are you doing for your clients? And we talked about this last week when we talked about niching. So like understanding your target market, understanding your offer, and really knowing your zone of genius. And then we want you to know about why you're doing this. So like Michelle shared, she's in a place that like is systematically harming Black women. And so she's very clear that when she walks in, like, I'm going to keep you safe. And this was one of the questions we had at the end of our last webinar, where someone was just talking about like, they feel kind of like they buckle at consults. And all of us here on the panel, and I know lots of you here in the chat, but some of you are new, so we're going to go through this. Like, I am so clear and I'm like fueled by rage that when I walk in and I was like, shit's going to go real bad at the hospital, period. And like, do you want some safety? Because like, that's just like, that's what's happening. Like your partner, he might be really great when you guys are watching a movie or ordering pizza. He's probably not going to shine there because we have the research about this, even the like most awesome feminist men. Like all of these things that I'm just like, and I'm like enraged at our birthing outcomes. And so when I walk in, I feel like really clear that I have a purpose on the planet. And I know that Meg and Michelle are exactly the same. Our whole Babel Mia team, we're literally fueled by rage. And then so much rage. There's so much shit to be mad about. And so we take that, we put it through, we do our work, we make sure we're like healed healers, and then we do everything for y'all with like the most love ever. And we transmute the rage, send it to you guys, and then we rage at the appropriate systems that are failing us. So when you have a really clear why, you'll just like walk into these spaces and you're like, tell me about it. I've got you, because you know the shit that's happening out in the world, in their like, you know, their school systems, the justice system, our medical system, our familial systems. Like we're really clear on that. And so you have to find that thing that like gets you up no matter what, or like that doesn't have you click like watch another episode of Netflix on your, you know, your 2 hours of time, or like get off Facebook. And like this will help you stay really, really focused. Also have the times where you like hit next 15 times on Netflix. I'm not saying don't do that, but like when it's your work time, your why will keep you going.
Yep.
And it'll get you up and it'll, you know, do the things. And then people will really understand what you'll do for them because they also feel really heard. Does that make sense for everyone?
Yes.
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 Yes,
and I would just like to say that this feeling that y'all have, like people are sharing it in the chat, like this like feeling, this is, I just want to do like a hat tip to Bianca, because this like rage that she has, but like transmutes it into like giving back, education, love, empowerment. It like pours out of her. Like she like, I don't know if you could find another human that like wants to like change the world and does so in such a really, really generous, loving way.
Yep. I put it in my notebook, fueled by rage.
True. Like, forget the Duracell. Like, literally. I might get that tattooed. Fueled by rage, transmuted to love.
Seriously. And that's what makes Babel Mia such a powerhouse, is because like this was the foundations that Bianca built, and now our entire team feels like in our bones. So when you talk to us, you know, anyone on the team, and you're like, wow, I feel like you really get me and you really want me to succeed. We're like, we really freaking do. Like, we do so much. We do. Like, we want this for you, you know?
Like, there's at least 5 countries represented in the chat box right now. And we're like, we want every one of you to make a difference in the country that you're calling in from. Mm-hmm. Like, which is why we're like, no secret sauce. Like, we're just like, please go do these things and get more clients.
We made mistakes, so please learn from us.
Yeah, there's no mistakes. So as we went through some of these tips, these 5 strategies, did any of you, we asked this question at the beginning, like to, you know, keep these in mind as you go through. Did you have any, thanks, Jacqueline. Did you have any ways that you can apply them right now to your business? You can use that chat box again to let us know. I'm just figuring out how to use these buttons. It's super fun. So use that chat box. How are some of the things that you can get really clear on any of the topics that we talked about tonight? And my COVID voice, Michelle, did you want to do a quick walkthrough about, wait, is it the next one? We have our Birth Worker Business School, which, like, full disclosure, I'm going to have Michelle go through it in 1 second, but I don't think that's the next slide. This is, the price of it is going up. We're not even doing this like, and this is the last time, because we promised never to do those things. So starting after this next run, we are raising the price because we've been doing a bunch of beta testing and now we're like really clear and it's locked in. So I do want to flag that. And very exciting, we have our annual Bust and Barrier sale, which starts on May 13th. It's 40% off everything. So you can get, your workshops. We have a new product we have 2 new products that will be going live for the sale. So it's really, really exciting, 40% off. We want to do this so that education is easier for folks that identify as women, because with this, we develop, as I said, financial independence. We make better decisions that are good for our hearts and our children and our bodies and our souls. So you can go over to babelmia.com/BBS for the Barrier Bustin' sale. And you can enter your email there just so you get the code first. And that's all. There's nothing secret or fancy there. It just gets you the code. So about business school, Michelle, tell us about it.
So I think important that in looking at other business schools in the world, those skewed towards women, a lot of them are Zoom chats where it's not recorded. You lose the access after it's done. And we have changed that. And so we have it where it's all recorded. Classes are live and you have access to them on your private classroom page. You never have to worry about making a live session. It's always available to you. Love that so much. And then, so kind of like, who is this for? New doulas who kind of don't know where they're going to be going, what's going on. Doulas who may be like a little bit discouraged at the lack of success or, sustainability. They're kind of like, I don't know what's going on. My stability is a little bit unknown. Too, experienced birth workers and business owners that are frustrated. They may be like, I don't know what's going on. I want to take like a leap of faith and grow my business, but I don't know where to go. Like, I don't know what direction needs to be fixed first. Too, like momtrepreneurs. I hate that word sometimes, but that's kind of where world lies. But feminist entrepreneurs, you want to like flip it and make it stronger. Who want to figure out what works for their work-life balance. A lot of this course, I'd say 75% of it is intrapersonal foundational work. That's like my favorite thing about it. I'm like, get ready to journal again. There are 6 prompts in this class for journaling. So it's really important. So want to make sure that it is something you want to do. We'll take you all the way across all of the platforms of business. And we're adding so much more. So there's a reason why we're saying now the price is going to be going up next year, because we are adding more content. It's beefier now than it was in our first beta year. And so we're really making this an empowering course for students to take. I love it so much. The modules are kick-ass. Like, they're so good. And so like business basics, goals and strategy, mission, vision, and values, target market, which is some things people skip. They often skip all of this and go to branding. And they're like, wait, who am I? What am I trying to achieve again? I'm like, your goals. I don't have goals. Let's make some. And so we haven't built like those that have taken our MSP or other courses. It strategizes. It builds up on itself. And you all can look at money in its place. If you've already taken this course, you can go see all the new content as it's rolling out. Just want to put it out there.
Jasmine, great question.
We're not going to hold you back from that access. We always want to make sure you get the best information. This week, we're going to have our website and content creation, which has a lot more information added to it from our amazing marketing team. So good. Social media that works for you. It's going to just be like how to take a cute picture. It's like how to make it function. So you keep your sanity and you're not posting on Instagram for 12 hours a day. Elevated experiences and consult confidence. So an expanded version of what we talked about today, how to be in a place with folks, give them that elevated experience, and then be confident about what you're doing. I love it. And then 2, digital birth worker, like working in a space where we can be online. And with the pandemic, a lot of folks have permanently switched to online. Overcoming imposter syndrome. This one's going to be really interesting. It's basically
she's shifted,
right?
We're shifting, getting out of the white supremacists.
I'm so excited. And then the art of networking. People think networking is like, but it's actually super powerful. I was like dipping my toes in, and now I'm like full body in, and I'm like being engulfed by networking, and I'm like, oh, it's so nice. I promise I'm not drowning. And then we add to like all kinds of Q&As and breakdowns of software stuff, like a walkthrough Canva. And we're going to be adding new guest speakers. So we did all of this during our 10-week training program. And the prices are pay what you can. And we have the prices here and payment plans all the way across. So payment plans, there is no extra fees or extra burden put on payment plan. It's just payment plan across what you can do, because that is how we do things around here. Love it. I love it. So here's how you get that. You go to bibamia.com, Birthworker Business School, under the tab for courses. You click sign up today. So this will take you to the next set, which will be starting in the fall. So I'm excited.
Yes. And if you complete the program, you do your homework, you do the exercises, and you're like, this didn't elevate my business, we will do one-on-one coaching with you so that you feel confident, because we know these things will work on your business. Yeah. Like, we can guarantee that. We've done it in all different markets, from like rural breaking into it, really competitive urban, the whole spectrum. Yep. Okay, prizes. We have some really great questions. Jasmine, the next run starts October
7th.
October 7th. Thank you, Meg.
Right.
Okay, so we've got swag. We have a swag shop if anyone wants to check it out. All proceeds, 100% of the proceeds, go into our scholarship committee so that we can provide access to education for folks with no income or extremely low income. So we're going to give away a mug. It says Birthworker and Changemaker, because that's what all of y'all are. There we go. And if you could, the winner, please write to Kelly, info@babelme.com. We're going to need your phone number and your address just for the courier. So, Michelle.
Okay. I'm going to highlight the comment of the person who wins.
What?
Oh! Congratulations. Desiree,
Kelly.
Yeah. Send Kelly an email. Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you for joining us. We have time for a few questions because I saw some come up. It means so much to us, for all of you hanging out. We know your time is precious. Building a business takes a lot of time, and we want to make sure that you're using that really effectively. So there was a really great question from Monica. Monica wanted to know, when you live in a small community where I may be the actual doula and worried about niching too much and not getting enough clients. This is a really good question. And I'm actually going to pass this one to Meg, because she broke out and was the first doula in her community. So Meg, if you could answer this for Monica, please.
Yeah. So I actually do have a follow-up question, which I'd love if you could answer just as I'm chatting. Whether or not like doula support is something that's known in your community. Oftentimes when we're first breaking out into a community that doesn't know about it, that education actually becomes the foundational point of how we will grow our businesses. Because if people don't know about it, then they can't find you. They don't know what to be looking for. So that education piece is actually really, really huge as you're breaking out into your community. The niching piece, I think that there's like multiple ways to move through this. At first, you could probably keep it open to a more broad market if you like. And when you niche, you are not saying no to people that are outside of your niche. So for me, for example, when I first started, barely any other, like there was one other doula that started like 1 month before me. Like there's no, like all of Northern Ontario. And so when I work with clients, my specialty, my niche is people with perinatal mood disorders, but that does not mean that I don't take people that don't have a perinatal mood disorder. If I get a referral from somebody and we vibe really well and it feels like a great fit, then I absolutely will still take them on as a client. So I don't want you to feel like you have to be the doula for everyone, because even though it is a small town, the chances are likely that there will still be some people that are not the best fit for you, and that's okay. So you can still get clear on who it is you want your market to be, and then market that way, and then people will still come. Like, you don't have to say no just because they're not within your niche.
Yeah, that's a great one. And before I have another question, I'm going to put from Abigail for Michelle to answer. But I want to also remind you, if you have birth worker friends that would benefit from watching this, you can share them and pass this on through all the many channels that we're streaming. Please share. Oh, there it is. Share the video if you think it would be useful for someone else. We have a question from Abigail that I would love Michelle's feedback because she's in a very competitive market. So do you have advice for someone who lives in an area where doula services are very competitive? And I know that Michelle does.
Yeah. So I'm in Austin, Texas, and there is a large number of doulas here. But I will say there's a large number of birthers here and a lot of hospitals. And what's funny is you'd think I would be overlapping folks and seeing doulas all the time when I'm at birth, but that's not the case. But for pricing out, I know for where I'm at, and I'll be very honest with you all, I cannot charge more than $1,000 a birth where I'm at. I will price myself out because of where I'm at. So I competitively do between $850 and $950. People love the 50s over here. It seems to work great. But if I have a package for $1,000 and no one will buy it. Now, if I cross the highway, literally cross the highway, which is, 15 miles from me, I can charge $1,500 with no one will bat an eye. They'll actually say that's too cheap. But because I'm in a suburban area connected to a large metropolitan area, I have to be mindful of that. So I know the doulas in my area, and we've all talked about this as to like what we can and can't charge and like what will work. And we keep that conversation going. And so one of the ways I've been able to support that is if I have a client that comes to me and they're like, hey, I don't feel like we're vibing together or whatever, I'll say, you know what? I know who will work with you and I will gladly pass them off to somebody else. And so I feel like that creates that community over competition. And then I get a text, oh my gosh, that person you sent me, they're so amazing. How did you know? And I'm like, I knew y'all would vibe better. And the next thing you know, they're sending me a referral back. Like, oh, this person lives in a bigger body. I don't know how to work with them. I mostly work with fit athletes. Can you work with them? I'm like, heck yes. Yeah. Totally. I identify as a fact. So yes, I can work with them. So that kind of helps the stress of having competitive pricing and knowing that I'm creating community, but I'm also checking prices of my fellow people, knowing if I needed to financially, I could market myself across the highway and change from saying Pflugerville doula to say the Austin doula. And I would have very different clientele. They would still be my target market, but they would have no problem having a different fee. So it's knowing what works. Also, too, if I was 25 miles more west, I could charge $2,000. But that would mean I'd be driving like an hour away or more in the hills. And like, I'm not one to be driving up the mansion.
Do it, girl.
You know what I mean? But like, I know where I'm at. And so knowing what I need, we can talk about this in module 4 of Birthburger Business School. Knowing what I need, knowing what I can do, and knowing what I'm able to charge. Like those 3 to make the formula for what I need to charge, how many births to take. But it's a lot of it's community stuff, like actually talking with doulas in your area and saying, hey, what kind of clients do you want? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm actually only working with trans birthers right now. Okay, that's fine. You automatically have someone you can send folks to, or vice versa. And so when they're like, oh, I got someone that's a first-time mom, I can't take them on. You can say, yes, send them my way, because you've already had that conversation with them. It sounds crazy, but it's really helpful. Really helpful.
Yeah, those are really great things you can start now. The community over competition, like we can't stress it enough. It's the way that we can share the load of educating folks of what birth workers are. Because right now, I mean, birth workers have grown and our understanding of them, but like we collectively can do that work of letting folks know why they should have a doula or a birth worker, so that every time somebody is going through their trying to conceive, pregnancy, birth, or postpartum periods, like we need to make it so that everyone would be like, yeah, I have to hire a doula, because that's like, they'd all know that. But we can do that together if we do it as a group. So community over competition, get to know who's in your area. That's such a good tip, Michelle, for Abigail's question. We are at the hour mark. We wanted to make sure we end on time so that everyone can go to bed or wake up or wherever you are on the planet. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, next week is the Boston Barrier Sale. on the 13th. So you can register for the Birth Worker Business School or any of our other programs or workshops. We have new products coming out. If you have questions about anything we talked about today, please either leave a comment or you can write to info@babelmia.com. We love having you all hang out with us. You're doing amazing work. Share this video if you think it'll be useful for one of your birth worker activist, change maker friends. We love to grow our community, and that helps us do so. Thank you, everybody. Meg and Michelle, thank you for your beautiful faces.
Thank you. This was so much fun.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Also, Monica, email me.
Yeah.
Northern Ontario stuff. I am so happy to chat about it.
Yes. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.